Hi, welcome to this video. Today I want to talk a little bit about prayer training in Runescape. And this is a subject I don't or didn't know an awful lot about until recently, where I wanted to start bossing. And that meant I wanted to use Soul Split, which is a curse which gives you a 10% heal for the damage that you do to a particular enemy. And the requirements for this ability is 92 prayer and a whole bunch of different quests. So I've not done any of the quests, but I thought let's get to 92 prayer. And at that point I was at 70 prayer, I think. And I had never really trained it consciously. It was just something that as I was going, I noticed the level increasing. So I thought, well, actually I'm going to have to dig deep here because it's a long way from 70 to 92. So let's try and learn a little bit about how we can train prayer more effectively. And so what I did was I created a bit of a training approach to determine the tips that I found that I learnt through my time training from level 70 up to 92. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through what I do on a normal run. So first off, I head to World 31 and go to Tiverley Bank. World 31 is the open gilded altars world, where we can go to a player-owned house and use their gilded altar. Now you can see that I'm using a war tortoise, and I have my inventory of bones set to a preset, in this case 4, which I can access with the F4 key. So my pattern is withdraw bones to the familiar manually and then press F4, and you can see we now have bones everywhere. Then I head north and I surge in order to make that a faster path, and we get to the portal and there is a crier, we can see them at the top of the screen, saying house hosts Eluridae, which is the player name. So we join their house by right clicking on the portal and saying join player owned house, and we can see there's a lot of people here and there is a gilded altar. Now if we right click on this altar, we will be able to actually offer bones to it and gain extra XP for doing so. We normally get 70 XP for a dragon bone, which is what I'm using here, but in this case I'm currently getting about 270 experience per bone, which is excellent. I am using an aura, which gives me a 1% boost to prayer XP, which is worth 5,000 loyalty points and you unlock it forever. It lasts an hour, and there are 3 of those, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail in a later part of the video. Now there is other things to talk about here. If you are not able to use a war tortoise, for example, then I would go ahead and use something like a spirit terror bird, which is what I used for a while. Just use the best one you can that gives you access to the most number of inventory slots. What I like to do also is to keep the summoning screen open. As you can see, it's on the bottom right of my game window here. And it allows me to, at the press of a button, which is the second button on that summoning window, second button from the left, allows me to withdraw in one click the entire inventory of bones into my current player inventory, which means that as the player is automatically doing the offering to the altar, we can just sit and AFK and then occasionally click the withdraw button to fill up with the bones from the familiar. So again, when we're finished, I head south and I use surge to speed that up a little bit. And then we come back into our bank, we withdraw into the familiar and then press F4. And now we have bones. And then we head back north and again use surge, which by this point should probably have cooled down, and we jump back into that player owned house by entering the friend that the house host it will be crying. And it may be different to you, but there's usually somebody there 24/7. Now when we get in, we can then just start our offering again to the altar. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about that offer altar clicking button. See, if we right click on that altar, it's quite hard to sometimes get the offer altar option. Some of these player owned houses can be very, very busy. And that means that you can spend a couple of seconds, maybe more sometimes, trying to actually click on the altar, because there's familiars flying around, there's players everywhere, there's things getting in the way, camera angles and so on. I've found that actually it's very effective to just click on the left-hand side of the altar, at the very left-hand side, and you'll just get those two options, pray and offer, every single time. If you click in other locations, usually you'll get the altar menu, but it'll be in amongst player names, in amongst other options. It will be there, but it's hard to find and it gets really, really fiddly. So just simplify things by just moving your mouse to the very left-hand side of the altar or the top end of the altar, depending on where your camera is, and you'll find that the altar menu will be very easy to select. A lot of players, when they're finished with an inventories, will then run to the portal to escape. But if you have the minigame tab open like I do here, there is a leave house button that you can click and leave from anywhere, which again just saves you seconds. That adds up to hours and hours and hours across a journey from, say, level 70 up to 120. So definitely worth getting into practice of using these tiny shortcuts, because they will make a big difference. The surge, the minigame leave portal button, and the use of the familiar is a huge advantage. So as we head back again to this person's player-owned house, I want to talk a little bit about juju potions. Now, a juju potion is something that you can typically be offered for free from the player-owned house host. What you can do is, as you can see here, you can type in sip please. They're called sips, and go up to the host and trade with them. I've also asked for a war tortoise, and you'll see here that the host gives you a sip of juju potion and a war tortoise. That's amazing. We didn't give them anything, and they've given us this help. Now, the juju potion gives us a prayer bonus XP, so that again, for an hour for each sip, you'll get a bonus to the experience that you gain. Hence, one of the reasons why I'm getting 270 XP per dragon bone. And if your house host is very nice, they'll also offer refreshes to your familiar, which is great, because quite often your familiar's energy will be running down, and as that goes to 0, you've got to run all the way to the infused pouch point in Taverley. Instead, most of these houses will actually contain obelisks, so you can then renew your summoning points in the house as they go low, and then use the pouch that you've asked for from the house host. And you can be here for hours and hours and hours and ask the host once an hour, please can I have another juju sip, or please can I have a familiar refresh. You'll always get the juju sip, and only if you're very lucky will they offer you the ability to grab a familiar refresh. But it's pretty good, not to be sniffed at. Make sure you use that leave house button, because again it just saves the annoyance of having to click. It makes it more AFK, and it increases your XP per hour because you're not wasting time running around. So I'm going to cover some other tips next. Clicking on the aura section of your outfit, and we can see here I have Harmony, Salvation and Corruption. Each of those provides a 1 hour boost, providing a 1% XP boost to prayer training. And that means with the 3 of them, because they have a cooldown of 3 hours, you'll be able to cycle indefinitely, from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, hour after hour after hour after hour. Each of those auras costs 5,000 loyalty points and can be purchased directly from the Manage Aura screen that I was showing you just there. And you can get to that by right-clicking in the section of your outfit on auras and selecting Aura Management. So highly recommend having an aura active at all times. My last tip is to go into the settings for RuneScape and look at, under the graphics options, look for the option called Remove Roofs. And that will basically remove the rendering of the roofs of each of the buildings that you come across. You can see it's this top right option I'm doing a good job of missing it at this particular point, but I will find it in a moment. Remove the roofs and say always. And the nice thing about that is that as you're traveling north and south between the bank and the portal, you'll always be able to see where the bank is, not click the stairs. And you might not know what I mean at the minute, but as you're traveling south and you try to hit the bank, it can get tricky because if you can't see it till you enter, it's extra clicks. And if you can see it further away, you've got a better chance of saving time. And again, it helps when you're inside of a player-owned house because if you arrived with roofs rendering, you wouldn't be able to see where the altar is from the portal. But when you are actually not rendering the roofs, you can see the portal immediately, and you want to aim for that top end, that north side of the portal, because then you'll get the offer button more easily. Okay? Alright, take care. I hope this has been a helpful set of videos for you. Hopefully the content is helping. Please like and subscribe, but most importantly, give me some comments. Let me know if this is the right kind of material. If it's not helping, let me know. If you'd rather see something else, please let me know what it would be, and I'll do my best at making it for you. Thank you so much. Please subscribe, take care, and see you next time. Bye-bye.